The most expensive square mile on Earth is empty. Read that again. Not at 3 a.m., not in August. Empty on a Tuesday in February, peak season, perfect weather, the exact moment Dubai is supposed to prove itself. Downtown Dubai. $20 billion. The Burj Khalifa, the mall, the fountain. Built to make every other downtown on Earth irrelevant. The streets are silent. The restaurants are hollow. The promenades echo. This is not a struggling neighborhood. It is immaculate, polished, architecturally perfect, and completely, structurally, deliberately empty. Because it was never designed to be lived in. It was designed to be sold. In 2004, Emaar Properties broke ground on a development so ambitious that the construction timelines alone required a separate management company to coordinate. Downtown Dubai was not a building. It was not even a neighborhood in the conventional sense. It was a city district built from nothing, on desert land that had been empty 12 months before the first foundation was poured, according to a master plan that specified not just what would be built, but what kind of life would be lived there. The master plan was precise. 500 acres of mixed-use urban development. Residential towers, commercial towers. The Dubai Mall. 5.4 million square feet of gross floor area. The largest shopping mall on Earth by total area. The Dubai Fountain. The Burj Khalifa at the center of it all. The anchor around which the district would organize itself, the way great cities organize themselves around their most significant landmarks. The vision was explicit, and it was repeated in every investor presentation, every press release, every architectural rendering that circulated through the global real estate investment community in the mid-2000s. Downtown Dubai was going to be a walkable urban district, a place where residents would live, work, shop, dine, and walk along the waterfront in the evenings. A genuine neighborhood with genuine street life. The kind of organic urban energy that takes decades to develop in cities like Paris or New York or Tokyo, but that Dubai was going to manufacture deliberately, the same way it had manufactured everything else. The development would include approximately 30,000 residential units spread across dozens of towers, office space for tens of thousands of workers, hotel rooms, serviced apartments, retail, restaurants, cultural spaces. A complete urban ecosystem delivered on schedule in the desert. By 2010, the main components were complete. The Burj Khalifa stood. The Dubai Mall was open and immediately became one of the most visited destinations on Earth. 80 million visitors per year, more than the Great Wall of China, more than Times Square, more than any other single retail destination on the planet. The fountain performed. The residential towers were sold, many of them before the foundations were finished, to buyers who had purchased from floor plans in sales offices in London and Moscow and Mumbai and paid deposits on units they had never seen, in a city some of them had never visited. Downtown Dubai was complete. The buildings were there. The infrastructure was there. The retail was there. The fountain was there. The people were not. There is a test you can apply to any urban district that claims to be a walkable neighborhood. And you walk it, not in a car, not in a taxi, on foot at street level between destinations, the way people move through neighborhoods that actually function as neighborhoods. In Paris, this test produces cafes, bookshops, vegetable markets, dry cleaners, children on scooters, elderly couples on benches. The accumulated visual noise of a place where people actually live. In New York, it produces the same density of human activity with different aesthetics. In Tokyo, different again, but equally alive. In downtown Dubai, the test produces something else entirely. The podium levels, the retail floors, built into the bases of the residential towers, the street-facing commercial spaces that were supposed to generate the neighborhood's street life, are largely vacant. Some have been vacant since the towers opened. Others cycled through tenants for a few years and then emptied. The ones that remain occupied are often service businesses, the laundries and pharmacies and convenience stores that serve residents, rather than the restaurants and cafes and boutiques that generate the kind of street activity that makes a neighborhood feel inhabited. The wide boulevards of downtown Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Boulevard, the main ceremonial road that circles the district, were designed for pedestrians. The pavements are wide, The landscaping is meticulous. The lighting is architectural rather than merely functional. Everything was engineered to invite walking. Nobody walks. The pavement temperatures in summer make walking physically dangerous. Dubai's summer, which runs from May through October, to roughly half the year, produces ambient temperatures between 104 and 115 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity that makes the heat index significantly worse. In those conditions, walking 400 meters between a residential tower and a restaurant is not a lifestyle choice. It is an endurance event. The city was designed for a climate it does not have. But here is the more revealing fact. In winter, in the cool months, in February, in the season, when the temperature drops to a genuinely pleasant 75 degrees, and walking is not just possible, but actively enjoyable, the streets of downtown Dubai are still empty. Not summer empty, not heat excuse empty, just empty, quiet, absent of the foot traffic that the architecture was designed to accommodate. Because the residents are not there. And the residents are not there because most of the apartments were never purchased by residents. Downtown Dubai's residential development contains approximately 30,000 units across its various tower projects. Address residences, Opera Grand, Boulevard Heights, Act 1, and Act 2, Vita, and dozens of other branded and unbranded towers that rose between 2008 and 2023. Those 30,000 units were sold, almost all of them. Emar's sell-through rate on downtown Dubai residential has been consistently high. The brand, the address, the Burj Khalifa proximity, the Fountain View premiums all did exactly what a marketing department would want them to do. The units sold. The investors bought. The investors did not move in. The pattern is identical to the Burj Khalifa's residential section because it is driven by the same logic. The buyers were overwhelmingly investment purchasers. Wealthy individuals from India, Pakistan, Russia, the UK, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, China. Every country that produces the class of person who wants to own a property in a jurisdiction that is not their own, for reasons that range from straightforward investment diversification to more urgent motivations involving asset protection from domestic political risk. These buyers were not purchasing homes. They were purchasing financial instruments that happened to be shaped like apartments. And financial instruments do not generate foot traffic. They do not fill restaurant tables on Tuesday evenings. They do not walk their children to school along the wide, empty boulevards that were designed to look like Paris and ended up looking like a stage set between performances, and the short-term rental market absorbed some of the vacancy. Platforms like Airbnb and Booking.com allowed investors to generate yield from units they never occupied themselves. A tourist staying for 4 nights, a business traveler for a week, a family from Europe doing the Dubai winter holiday. This produced a specific kind of occupancy, transient, anonymous, high turnover, and fundamentally incompatible with the formation of community. A neighborhood of Airbnb guests is not a neighborhood. It is a hotel without a lobby. The people change every few days. Nobody knows their neighbors. Nobody has a relationship with the dry cleaner or the pharmacy or the coffee shop downstairs. But the social infrastructure of a functioning urban district, the accumulated familiarity that makes a place feel inhabited rather than visited, cannot form in a building where the residents change weekly. Downtown Dubai's 30,000 units are occupied in the technical sense. They are generating revenue for their owners in many cases. They are not empty in the way that an abandoned building is empty. They are empty in the way that matters. They are empty of permanence, empty of community, empty of the thing that makes a neighborhood rather than a collection of investment properties arranged in a geometrically pleasing configuration. Here is the most confusing number in downtown Dubai's story: 80 million visitors per year. The Dubai Mall attracts 80 million visitors per year. That is not a typo, not a misreading. 80 million. More than the population of the United Kingdom, more than the population of France, more than any single retail destination in the history of human commerce has ever attracted in a 12-month period. The Dubai Mall is the most visited building on Earth. It contains 1,200 retail outlets, an Olympic-sized ice rink, a 10 million-liter aquarium holding 33,000 aquatic animals, visible through a 32-meter-wide viewing panel, a VR park, a dinosaur skeleton, a waterfall, hotels attached to the complex, a metro link, a monorail connecting to the Burj Khalifa Plaza. Everything that a destination retail complex has ever attempted, assembled in one address. And yet, the downtown Dubai streets outside the mall are empty. That paradox is not accidental, and it is the structural consequence of a design philosophy that treated the mall as the destination rather than the district. 80 million people come to downtown Dubai every year. They come to the mall. They come to the observation deck. They come to watch the fountain. They arrive by car or metro, enter their destination, and then leave by car or metro. They do not walk the boulevard. They do not discover the neighborhood. They do not generate the street-level activity that converts a real estate development into an urban district. The mall captured all the footfall. The streets got none of it. This is Dubai's version of a problem that urban planners have been studying for 50 years. The suburban mall problem, where the commercial anchor draws all the activity to an interior space and evacuates the surrounding streets of the human energy they need to function. Downtown Dubai spent $20 billion solving the wrong version of this problem. It built magnificent streets and then put everything worth visiting inside a building. The restaurants that work in downtown Dubai genuinely work, with full tables and waiting lists, are inside the mall. The retail that performs is inside the mall. The energy, the people, the commercial vitality of the most expensive real estate development in the Middle East is all occurring inside one building, in one privately managed space, under one roof. And outside, the most expensive streets in the region sit in the particular silence of a place that was designed for more. Downtown Dubai has a service sector problem that nobody in the real estate industry will discuss directly, because the people who would discuss it are also the people trying to sell you units in the next tower. A residential neighborhood generates a specific type of commercial demand. Grocery stores, pharmacies, dry cleaners, schools, clinics, the businesses that serve the daily needs of people who actually live somewhere. These businesses are not glamorous. They do not appear in architectural renderings. They are not the kind of retail that justifies $300 per square foot in annual rent. But they are the biological indicators of a functioning neighborhood, the commercial equivalent of a pulse. Downtown Dubai has almost none of them at street level. The grocery situation is instructive. For years, in downtown Dubai's residential population, the actual residents, the small percentage of those 30,000 units occupied by people who actually live there, rather than investors who visit occasionally, had to travel to neighboring districts to access a full-service supermarket. The retail podiums of the residential towers were occupied by fashion boutiques, restaurants, and service businesses that catered to tourists and occasional visitors. The boring, essential daily life infrastructure of a real neighborhood was missing, because the retail mix was not designed for residents. It was designed for tourists and for the marketing photographs that would appear in the next sales campaign. You photograph a glass-walled Japanese restaurant with a view of the fountain. You do not photograph a supermarket. The businesses that tried to operate as genuine neighborhood services in downtown Dubai faced a structural problem. The actual resident population was too small and too transient to sustain them. The 80 million mall visitors did not need a dry cleaner. The Airbnb tourists arriving for 4-night stays did not need a pediatrician. The investors flying in for 2 weeks annually did not need a regular coffee shop where the barista knows their order. The businesses opened. The businesses closed. The podium retail spaces cycled through tenants with a frequency that itself became a signal, the commercial equivalent of a fever, the body of the district trying and failing to find the organisms that would make it function as designed.